ain't going back. Not gonna buy into all that. Hey, ain't gonna hide. Gonna let all the fears slide. Got mother nature, it's on my side. Got all of the loving growing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the New Now. Today, we're going to continue our series on phantom work, moving along from our last one about imagination and delve deeper into what could be missing. What part of your limbs, so to speak, are you still feeling? As we mentioned in the last one, phantom work, when something's been locked off, as I've done some studies in the past, as in if you're missing a limb. We used to work with a fellow that had some products for that kind of phantom pain. It seems that when it's gone and it was a part of you, it's still something that has an effect, whether it's painful or missing or lost or all of the above. It definitely can influence your day-to-day. Today's topic is going to be haunted by madness. And what I mean by haunted by madness, I would say that inner feeling that we all have, that anybody who is dealing with sadness, depression, anxiety, loss of belief in themselves, or is in some way feeling like they're missing something of super importance from their life, they are in one way or the other, and I would say just about everyone I've ever come across, and I'm going to put myself at the top of that heap, has been and is, even on a daily basis, haunted by madness. Now, what do I mean by that? Habits, blame, shame, regret, remorse, loss, all of these things could be seen as chains that bind us to a life less than desirable from where we are today. Now, what is a phantom? You can imagine something that used to be alive, right? Something that used to be there, something that you can hear, but you cannot hear, that you can see, but you cannot see. Ghostly, perhaps, but certainly something you feel in your day-to-day. And I would say, if you're like me, probably you would rather not be haunted by phantoms. You would rather not be haunted by voices of your past. You would probably rather not be rattled as you make choices in life, laid down, weighed down, heaved down by experiences, interactions, relationships, choices, promises, all of the above from your past, so that you could properly move into your future, or at the very least, you can grab your now, your new now, and make it the way that you would like. So haunted by phantoms, haunted by madness, habits, the worst of the worst, I would say. Perhaps one of the most important to study. What is a habit? How do you develop your habits? Why do you have habits? People say there are good habits and bad habits, but I would say no such thing as a good habit, in that a habit is something you do without consideration, my definition. A habit is something that you fall into, even if, let's say, you don't really want to do it. It's just rote in your life, a groove, something you've done over and over and over. A habit of eating too much, a habit of drinking too much, a habit of being too nice, a habit of being too mean, right? A habit of being too short, so to speak. And I don't mean in stature, but I mean in your responses to other people when you're feeling stressed or upset, or something that is leaving you feeling less than patient. So a habit, how do they haunt you? We can all understand having drunk too much, and then the next time you have stress, let's say, I'll talk about myself, your immediate feeling is having a drink. Now, I don't drink anymore. I used to drink quite a bit in my 20s. I've had the odd weekend where I've had a bit too much, over the last 10, 20 years. And it seems to me that a habit of, I'll use this as an example of feeling that having, let's say, some alcohol is going to calm your nerves, is going to make something better, is going to give you some peace and quiet in your life, is one that many of us deal with or have dealt with. And it doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be cannabis. It could be anything, really. It could be anything you do that you feel gives you a bit of comfort in times of stress, but in the end is not beneficial to your health. So how do you get this habit? Maybe you watch some Friends, maybe you watch too much TV, or I did when I was growing up, maybe media, movies, whatever, and you pick up a habit and you do it, and at the end, you're not so happy, You find that you've poisoned yourself, or you've allowed your body to become un unresponsive or unhappy in whatever it is that you're doing at the moment. And that gives you the feeling of never wanting to do something again, let's say. So as far as a habit, oh, I'm never going to do that again. We've all said that many, many times. And yet when the time comes and you have stress, you find yourself reaching for the bottle, or reaching for the joint, or reaching for the whatever, to bomb your nerves, to bomb your fears, to bomb your pain, to give you a bit of relief without really considering what's coming next. In other words, you got to pay the price. We all do. No matter what you do, there's always repercussions, especially for doing a power plant or an intoxicant, or even, getting angry, or, whatever it is that you do to cover up something you don't like, because you feel somehow it's going to make you better. And then there's a price to pay. By a price, I mean your body, your emotions, your consciousness feels less than ideal at the end of it. So you're haunted by these habits. So what do you do with a haunting? Well, I would say you sit up at night, you sit up during the day, and you look at them. You understand them. You look at them from a perspective of sobriety, if you'll pardon the pun when we're talking about being unsober, and understand why you picked up that habit in the first place. Why did you start drinking? Why did you start smoking? What in your life needs to be changed that doesn't really get fixed when you drink, but just gets delayed for another day or three? Why are you not facing, in a sober nature, whatever it is you're hiding from, or you need calming from, or you need a vacation from, which leads you to the habit, instead of actually facing what it is that's bothering you? Phantoms are something that will follow you around, are chained to you, will bother you, niggle you, give you grief, stress you, distress you, take away your energy, until, I would say, you stop and face them. You turn around and you look at your habits. Like, why do you drink? Okay, you don't like your job, you don't like your health, you don't like your relationships, you don't like, fill in your own reasons why you're not happy. And then you can sit there and look the next time at your bottle, at your cocktail, at your joint. And if you dare, ask yourself why. Why am I about to do this? Why do I want to do this? What is horrible in my life that if I spent a day or three facing or changing would be better than it being exactly the same 3 days later? So on a Friday, after a week of work, you don't like your job, like most of us or a lot of us have, and I'm in Japan, where tons of people still do. You go out and you tie one on, instead of facing what it is that made you need to, tie on whatever you're tying on. And I would say you're tying on a chain, which leads to the madness, which is why we're calling this one Haunted by Madness, because you can hear those chains rattle. So if you look at your habit, or you look at your job, and you look at them together, and you go, well, I need to do this because this is stressful, or I need to do that because I don't like this, or I'm doing this to give myself a bit of a reward for having done something that's not so great, as far as my feelings, my heart, my energy, my emotions, even. And I would say my inspirations are telling me not to. So in this case, we'll say looking at a job you don't like. Well, there you go. I mean, the answer is obvious. If you're sitting with me talking, is you look at the job and you change that situation in your life. I mean, your job could be attached to many things, right? It could be attached to a relationship. It could be attached to children. It could be attached to a home if you have a mortgage, or a death contract, as mortgage means. Could be attached to loans, or a car, or your desires for fancy vacations, whatever it is that your job's attached to. And I'm not saying this is easy, but this is why it's called phantom work, is facing your phantoms is perhaps one of the hardest things you're ever going to do. And I have said it before, the harder thing, perhaps only one thing is harder, is not facing your phantoms. So you can see why you need to relax, why you need to do what you need to do, why you're choosing to hide for a day or three, or every weekend for a couple of days from something, to relax yourself from something that's stressing you, by understanding the choices you made that led you there. So you can look at your job. Are you doing it for the money? Most people are. If you don't like it, what could come next? Why aren't you looking at something else? Maybe in those few days, instead of, reaching for the bottle and losing time, I don't know about you, but I have found when I do drinking, my weekends or days or whatever used to disappear in the blink of an eye. I go, oh my goodness, I can't believe it's already Monday, right? We've all had that experience. So if you spent that time, even though it won't be as fun, so to speak. It won't be as relaxing. It might not be as jolly. But if you spend the weekend, let's say, looking at your resources, deciding how to spend less, going through the potentials of new work, if you're looking for work, going through the potentials of enhancing your relationships, making them better, if that's why you're drinking, leaving them behind, if you can't enhance them, whatever it is, downsizing your life, upsizing your heart, taking up the pen again, if you were an artist and then you gave that up to go sell shoes for a living, if you were a musician, to look at that and to see, if you spent the weekend, let's say, honing your art or honing your skills or writing that book, if you were an artist and you wanted to write, or looking for other work, even if it's temporary, if you wanted to leave a bad job behind, you could see, even though you may have a hard time for 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, in the time you spent haunted by your habits, you could be unhaunting yourself. You could be unchaining yourself. Equal amount of time. 2 days getting drunk or 2 days finding out why you're sad and how to fix that, right? 2 days getting stoned or 2 days writing your new novel, your new book, writing the song you want, picking up a guitar, the guitar again, whatever it is for you that you were haunted by. And looking at habits, we're going to tie this in because we mentioned regrets, chained to regret. You could have been sad that you didn't pick up the guitar when you wanted to do music. For myself, let's say I was an artist when I was a little boy. I dropped it. I could have had a regret saying, oh, I'll never draw. I'll never paint. I'll never do any of these things. But instead of that, and I did do that for years, I remember sitting around in my 20s and 30s, smoking or drinking, talking to my friends saying, oh, I've never been a good artist. I could never draw. I could never paint. I wish I could. I could never sing. But what are you going to do? And then you forget about it. And then you smoke your joint. And then I went back to my bad job, right? Or you have a few drinks and then you go back to your bad job. But nothing ever changes. It took me a decade or longer to realize I could paint. I could paint poorly at first. I can paint better now. I could draw. I could draw poorly at first. I can draw better now. I can, do music in my way. I write lyrics. I don't play a guitar or an instrument yet, but I could, if I wanted to, I'm sure, pick up something and practice. But instead of spending the time, drunk and hungover on a Saturday morning, I can use my inspirations to pursue the artistic side of myself that I regretted missing. And I don't anymore because I picked them up and I use them and I share them. Even doing these videos, like, oh, I'm too shy. I can't talk to anyone. But then I picked up the potential by deciding I wanted to share what I'm sharing, through what I'm sharing with you fellows and you ladies and, everyone else who's listening here. And it's allowed me to get over the regrets, right? I don't regret being shy. I don't regret not having picked up the pen. I don't regret not doing my music anymore because I'm not haunted by them. I'm not chained to them, right? Have I done bad things in relationships? Sure. Do I regret them? Of course, I regret being an asshole many times over in my life. But in facing those regrets and understanding and accepting my responsibility with them, I don't do that anymore, right? I'm nicer in my relationships. I'm kinder in my day-to-day. I've picked up the potential for my own creative processes by doing my drawing, my dancing, my funny dancing, and my singing, my cooking, whatever's artistic for me, flower arranging, I'm in Japan, Ikebana, it really doesn't matter. But if you have the potential to do something creative, as I strongly feel we all do, and you regret not having done that, if you pick up that power again, whether you're 16 or 66 or 76, it doesn't really matter. As long as you're breathing, you can pick up an artistic habit, hobby, desire, and play with it and see where it takes you. So basically, as we're looking at the phantom work here, what is your phantom made out of? What is your missing limb? So if you're missing your limb of artistic endeavors, if you're missing your limb of creativity, if you're missing your limb of being in a good relationship, if you're missing your limb of being happy and having more free time, really what you need to do, or what you could do, is look at your habits, look at your regrets. I would also say look at your guilt. So these could be the 3 points of changing yourself from being haunted by madness. Because what brings you madness, right? Usually you're guilty or feeling bad about doing something horrible. You're feeling miserable about having missed some opportunities in your life, right? You have some habits which you can't break, whatever they are for you. We really don't need to go into let's eating or it's sexy too much or embalming yourself with intoxicants, denying yourself, whatever it is where you're, let's say, obfuscating the potential of picking up your power, and you're not doing something about whatever is haunting you or making you feel horrible, then you're really chained to a phantom. And the phantom is you. That's the big secret here. You are the phantom you're missing. You are the missing bits of yourself. It doesn't have to be a hand. Like I said, it could be your creative process. It could be your desire to have an adventure that you're not having. It could be a desire to be in good relationships that you're not in. It could be a desire to live a different way. Could be a desire to be healthy. Let's say your body's not healthy for whatever reason. So you have to face that. You have to see what you're feeling bad about. You have to see what you're feeling guilty about. You have to pick up what all your habits are and look at them and put them down. So instead of spending the time feeling miserable or sad or depressed or intoxicated or hiding or bombing or taking any measure that takes you away from your life and the pain you have, fix the pain. Find out why it's bothering you. Look into it. Look into why you're feeling bad in your relationships. Look into feeling why you're not getting along with your children, let's say, or your siblings or your parents, if that's the case. Figure out why you're in a job you don't like. And really, when you come to a point, in my opinion, and this is a big one, when you say there's nothing I can do, I'm stuck here because, well, that's that ledge that you should take a moment and look at that ledge and figure out how to get beyond. Find the cracks. Maybe you have to continue on with a job you don't like for 6 more months while you're building a new vocation. Maybe you have to stay in a relationship that's not working while you're trying to fix it. And if you can't fix it, finding a way to leave it behind, right? It doesn't matter. Anybody that's sitting here and in this phantom work with me that's telling me you can't for whatever reason, I would say the can't is where you stop and you figure out a way to get around it. And if you're stuck in a place where you're saying there's nothing you can do, the world sucks, my relationship sucks, my children are horrible, my job is bad, but I can't do it, I owe so much money, but I can never stop, I would say, doesn't matter. And I'm not trying to be mean. I've said this myself before. I'm saying basically, you have a life, if you want to look at it that way. Everyone has an appointment they can't avoid. That appointment is death. Death is coming for all of us. So if you sit and you look to your left and you realize one day you won't be here, maybe all the things on your right, like on the right side of your life that you feel you can't change, you will look to do so anyways. And if you have 20 years as a habit of drinking, or 20 years as a habit of working in a job you don't like, or 20 years in a habit of being married in a relationship that's not working for you, I'm not saying, you turn up the next weekend and suddenly you're better by throwing it all in the garbage, although, could be a good step depending on the situation that you're in, that it's going to be easy. It took you 20 years to get there, it may take you 20 years to get out of there. I did many things for decades that were horrible to my own happiness, and it's taken me decades of hard work to work my way out of there, having some horrible experiences along the way, and some wonderful ones as well. So nobody said it's easy, but on the other hand, if you're unhealthy and you've been unhealthy for 20 years and you want to get healthy, it may take you 20 years to really fully recover from being poisoned, self-poisoned, I'm going to say. If you ate bad food, if you took bad drugs, if you, indulged in too much sugar, whatever. By bad, I mean, bad is your body's telling you it's not happy with what you've done to it. Maybe you've done too much MSG, too much salt, I don't know, whatever it is, too much inorganic food, too much nonsense, too much red meat, too much vegetables, too much tofu. Doesn't really matter. If your body's telling you it's not happy, listen to it, work your way out of it. Maybe you'll gain another 10 years of life. Think about that. Right? You go, oh, I'm going to be dead, so nothing I can do, but maybe you will gain more life. Maybe if you fix your relationships, you will gain extra time because you'll be happy. Stress kills. It's one of the oldest and easiest things to understand. Every time I've stressed myself, I feel tired, less healthy. I get sick. My teeth hurt. My knees ache. Whatever. My ears ring. Stress, literally, is a cracking. Right? You put stress on something, you can break it. On the other hand, good stress, like weightlifting or climbing a mountain or walking further than you want, can challenge you and help you to become better. Right? So maybe the stresses you're feeling of your past regrets, feeling guilty, feeling blame, feeling shame, of having all these habits. Our stresses, if you look at them one way and you continue on with them in a downward motion, stress you into weakness. Now, if you go the other way, the stresses or challenges of putting down those habits, the stresses or challenges of facing whatever you felt guilty about, the stresses or challenges of realizing blame is a waste of time, and we get comments all the time on this channel, but I got to blame, it's not my fault, and there's nothing I can do, and the world's horrible, and I'm waiting for, pick, guru, God, my government to save me. Get out of here if that's, your attitude, because it's not what we're talking about. It's the stresses of picking up your responsibility, right? It's the stresses of becoming as strong as I believe we all can be. And I'm not saying it's easy, and the older you get, maybe the weaker you get, or the less energy you have, or the less perspective or ideas you have, but that doesn't matter. Everyone can increase their imagination by a little bit. Everyone can increase their effort by a little bit. If you're walking an hour, walk an hour and a half. If you're, eating bad, less bad food for 2 days, go to 3 days. Et cetera, et cetera. Pick it up and take it and move it, and keep your eyes open and your ears open and your inspiration open and everything else open, your guts, for what comes next. I would say personally, the world loves us. At the very least, you could say on a higher level, we love ourselves. So if you let yourself move to that higher level, you will find the answers that you seek from whatever it is that's haunting you. If you're haunted by your habits, write them down, figure them out, see why you have them, get to the bottom of them, and then change the underlying current of your habit. If you're hanging out with people that drink all the time, stop that. If you're in a job that stresses you all the time, move yourself towards less stress, however you have to do that. Right? If you're drinking for 3 days, maybe cut it down to 1. I don't know. I'm not saying you have to give up cold turkey, although I have. I'm not saying you have to stop everything, although maybe you will. It's a matter of degrees in some ways. Take one step in the direction towards facing your phantoms, facing your chains, seeing what ties you down. If you stop at a place that you say, I can't go any further, there's nothing I can do, that's where you need to really look around, dig deep, and figure out what you can do. Find someone who loves you if you don't have the answer for yourself. Do some research in the books of other people that have faced similar challenges and what they've done. I'm not saying anyone could do it for you. I'm not saying a book on help is going to help you. The bottom line in all of this is everyone has to help themselves. Everyone has to develop the skills to get over whatever's haunting them. If you've made those chains of the phantoms, change your guilt, change your regrets, change your habits, change your belief system. That's another one. And look at, you could be haunted by your beliefs. You believe you can't change. You believe you're a certain religion. You believe you have to stay married if you've been married. You believe you have to do something with children. These are some points that really need to be looked at, and maybe the hardest ones to change. Because in my opinion, all beliefs can be thrown away. All beliefs can be altered. All beliefs can be unbelieved. You can disbelieve whatever you believed at one point or another. And again, I'm not saying it's easy. If you have children, you have to make some hard choices if things aren't working well for you and them. Let's say if you're in a relationship, same thing, or a job, it doesn't really matter. The hardest choices you make could also be the most powerful. If you have to move a little bit at first to work your way, wriggle yourself free, find some wiggle room, as they say, to move to the next step, do so. No one can change you, but you have to change yourself. There's help out there for you to help yourself. In my opinion, nothing but that. We have a video series, Freedom's Calling You to Life's Lost Purpose. The secret is there is no purpose. Maybe I'm giving it away, but the purpose is your life, right? The purpose is to become strong. You are the purpose of your life. Imagine at the end of this conversation, I'm going to keep it really simple, the gift that is your life. If you can sit and smell a flower, and I'm not trying to be hokey or cheesy or granola here whatsoever. If you can understand the beauty and the colors that come from nature, if you can understand the smile from a lover, a friend, a dog, the loving lick of a dog, a child if you have them, a parent if they're around, your grandparents if they're there, whatever it is, you can understand the love, the beauty, even in the wonder of eating a sandwich that's delicious. This life is a gift. You live to 100, which is probably more than most of us will get. It's such a short gift. It's such a beautiful thing. You're here to experience. You're here to be alive. You're here to eat the fruit. You're here to desire, your artistic endeavors flower and blossom, like a flower. The flowers come, the flowers go. They never stay long. So don't expect whatever you do is of lasting importance other than to you in your heart, maybe your future life. Maybe there's some stuff beyond this one. I feel we never go anywhere, that we're always here. We're always alive. Maybe as they say, life is but a dream, and you wake up from this one and you go, oh, I'm so happy I have this skill now that I love painting, or I love dancing, or I love cooking, or I'm artistically inclined to grow beautiful flowers, whatever it is for you. But if you understand the gift you have of life, you won't waste it. You won't throw it in the garbage. You won't say there's nothing you can do. And when you're on your last breath and death is going, time's up. Let's go. You won't go, son of a bitch, fuck it. I can't believe I missed the opportunity to do that then, to do this here, to create this, to drop that. It doesn't really matter. It might be hard at first, but believe me, I won't use the word believe me, but let's say I have experienced that even if you're in a relationship and there's yelling, everyone will be happy down the road if it's not loving at the time, if you leave it, let's say. And even though your head may be screaming to have that drink, a week, 2 weeks later, you'll be happy when your energy gets stronger and you can use that time more creatively, more artistically, more usefully, more powerfully than you did before. Same for the habit of eating a cookie. Maybe hard at first, your stomach may grumble, your head may yell, you may like scream to the heavens, but if you don't, and you do something better, you do something else, learn to bake your own cookies. I did that for a while. I stopped eating garbage by making more or healthier versions of them. That's how I did it for myself. Eventually I have to stop it all because, even healthy cookies make you fat if you eat too many, or organic ones. But that's not the point. The point is, I went from store-bought to studying, to cooking, to making my own. This is what I did years ago. It's a little bit of a story here. And that helped me to get over it by realizing, you make your own, you can see what they're for, you make them as healthy as you can, and then you can enjoy them and they taste better anyways. And then eventually you realize, wait a minute, I'm still getting fat. I got to stop that anyways. But it was easier at the time, right? Because I wasn't addicted to sugar because I started baking, let's say, with honey or maple syrup or whatever. Yeah, agave. The bottom line here is you make one step, you make the next step, and you make a further step, and eventually you can move away from your habits and you can gain the power to drop them and to realize life is about being alive. It's about having the best experiences you can. It's about being as creative as you can and imaginative as you can. And to realize if you're being haunted by phantoms, if you're being chased by those chains, you're being chained to regrets, the habits are weighing you down and filling your pockets with rocks, your blame and your guilt is really disallowing or unallowing or caging you from change. That and those and them are really what you need to look at to fix and move, discard, change, whatever it is for you. I found it works. It's worked for me. Our course is here if you want. In Love Unlimited, Phantom Work. I do some one-on-one work still. If you have any questions, let me know. My first session is free, so to speak. There's all kinds of ways that you can work your way through things if you really want to. All kinds of potential, all kinds of alternative options for all of us. That's why we're here. And if nobody's giving them to you, and that's the last thing I'll leave you with, don't expect anyone to give you your answers. Really, we're here to figure these things out for ourselves. Maybe someone will inspire you with a direction, but the bottom line and the bottom answer or the top answer is always yours. I'm Lorenzo. Thank you so much for being here. Phantom Work, haunted by your past, haunted by your chains, haunted by those phantoms. Figure out what has made those phantoms real for you, outlined in habits, weighed down in regrets, silhouetted in blame, and then picked up, by your belief system, and figure out how to undo all of those, disremember, disbelief, untie, unchain, and you too can become free. Govern yourself, which basically means make your choices for yourself, no matter how hard, no matter how difficult, no matter how painful. The bottom line is, on the other side, you'll be better off for yourself because your love will grow, you'll be in Love Unlimited, and you'll be a happier, much better, more fulfilling person, no matter the challenge you have to face to get there. Thank you so much. I'm happy you're here. More coming soon. Please like and subscribe and comment. I'm happy to cover other topics. I love you all. Thank you again. I'll see you soon.
Lie to my heart. No one tells me where I should start.